Hey everyone, I am finally back with Erik Hogan, the creator of Scorpion Engine. Say hi, Erik.
Hello.
And we are here to make some more progress on that Scorpion Engine game that we've been working on, the side-scrolling platformer, which you're about to see again. So I'll just run the latest version so you guys can kind of catch up with where the project is, and I can explain what I'm hoping that we can accomplish or what I can accomplish with Erik's help in this video. This might be kind of loud song. Maybe I should turn off the music for testing. Okay. There we go. So here's how the game is looking. I've made the level bigger, and it starts out looking the same, but now there's no big robot face guy shooting at you, and there's just a basic platformer, like basic platformer enemy, the guy that rolls left and right. I can't speak. One thing that you might notice, if you really paid attention to previous videos, the explosion looks different now, as part of the never-ending endeavor to optimize. They are now made with sprites instead of glitter objects, so their colors are different now. Also, these background columns here used to also be blue or greenish blue, like this ground is, and one viewer complained there was too much blue all over the screen, and I agreed with them, so I actually made those a much closer to neutral gray color to add more color variety to the screen. And then, so here's the first thing I want to accomplish in this video is, you could see there's one of those invisible switches in the air, like right up there, and I made it so you can turn these on with your boomerang if you hit them with your boomerang, which I just did a poor attempt there. There we go. And you'll see it calls down one of the floating platformers. And I know I need to fix the code for that too. It's only kind of half working, but it gets the point across. But so what I want to do, since this is going to be the only working level by the time we get to Amiga 37 mid-October, I want this to be like a real tutorial level that kind of has signposts with text. So before you reach this kind of chasm here, there would be a signpost that maybe you press up when you're lined up with it, and then the text box. Hopefully, is this how it works in Scorpion by default, Erik? Like it would replace the HUD on the bottom with a text panel? Or does a text panel
Yes,
appear? Okay. That's good.
Depending where you put it, you can actually have it appear on the top of the screen.
Nice. Okay, so that's nice to have that option.
And the other thing is the talkpad is loaded separately in memory to the panels, though what that means is there is a little bit of memory overhead with it.
Right.
But it means that you can show text and then
the HUD.
Dismiss the text
Right.
without needing to reload anything from disk.
Right. And it sounds like you're saying I could keep the HUD on the bottom and have the talk pad, the text panel, on the top if I wanted to?
Yeah. Well, so you could have it appear right at the top of the screen and still have
the HUD on the
actually, although I wouldn't recommend doing it that way because it can cause some issues with I ran into some difficulties with regenerating the copper list.
Makes sense.
At real time with having text on top. So I generally recommend having the text show up on the bottom.
Yep.
So that would temporarily displace the.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was
bar.
planning anyway. Like that's a very kind of clean, efficient way to do things. Just have it replace the HUD during those moments, since you don't need to see your HUD while you're just reading text because there's no action at the time. So we'll go with that. All right. So I'm assuming I'm going to need like I didn't make any art in anticipation of this video, so we're just going to use art we already have as placeholders to get things working, and then I'll replace the art later. So I'm assuming I'm going to need something like a block or something, and have it say if the player's overlapping the block and presses up, then trigger the what's it called again? A talk pad in Scorpion Engine? Or, yep. Okay. Alright, so let me keep going with this. So yeah, you can see one problem. The when you scroll and come back, I don't have this platformer, this floating platform set properly. So you can make it worse and worse on yourself when you go off screen and come back, because the sine wave always starts at the new Y position. So now it's way too high. But anyway, we'll fix that later. And then you'll see now, but the point is there are multiple switches throughout the level now, and so far one called a platform and the other made a bridge, and then there's one more that's... Oh yeah, and this I want to be a checkpoint. That's the next thing we'll do. So I just want it so when you cross it the first time, or basically overlap with it the first time, it'll make a little effect, play a little sound, and it'll refill your health and basically your weapon energy. And then if you die, you should respawn there with full health and weapon energy. And alright, so oh yeah, okay, so yep, here's the first time it makes a bridge, which is a copy of what you've seen before. Yep. You could see I haven't updated the blocks yet for this enemy, so the columns that overlap the enemy are still the bluish green color. If you could see that, look up near top here. Yep. But otherwise it's all functioning, so I just need to update the art when I get a chance. And then there's one more hole here, spike pit that, has the... yeah, and that enemy respawns also when it should not, when you go off screen. I'm not doing a good job with my boomerang throwing. There we go. And that makes a really long bridge. And then the boss fight, there's a lot of problems with the boss fight, but we basically optimized it so that it uses the blitter mode that does not clean up after itself. Which is why there's only bushes now and not columns. But right now the boss can get too low, which dirties that. And the so I can make the bushes shorter, and I can make sure the boss never gets too low. And I need to make sure he never moves so fast that that it leaves behind these weird visual glitches where it would have needed to be cleaned up. Oh yeah, so his coding is all messed up still. It's still based on the logic that was made for the much smaller map. So he just went way off screen where I can't even go anymore because he's trying to get back.
It was limited by the old X coordinates.
Exactly. So I didn't update any of that stuff yet. So we'll see if we can get to any of this, but I know that's all stuff I can handle on my own. I just haven't gotten to it yet, so that's much less important for this video. So we'll just see how much time we end up with. So, alright, let's get into actual coding. So, of course, I knew I was going to need a bitmap font, but as you said, when you create a project, it already has like a default bitmap font built into the project. So we'll just use that one for now. I assume I can customize that later on if I want to make it kind of visually match the style of the game more.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
did you want to take a quick look at it? At the default font.
Yeah, that's under fonts, I assume, default font.
Yep, and then default font. So that's basically it. That's the font that comes with it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it comes with Scorpion. The reason why, there's a few options for customizing on the right. You can set whether or not it's it's a monospaced, whether every letter in the grid is the same size, or whether thin letters like I don't take up as much space.
Right.
So basically whether or not it trims to the edge.
All right, so it'll actually analyze the pixels and kind of come up with its own setting for kerning. That's called kerning, deciding how spaced apart particular letters are. That's cool. And I do notice, obviously, also that it's got uppercase letters twice. I'm assuming that it's actually for upper and lower, so if I edited the font to have lowercase as well, am I right there? Like you see how it has uppercase twice?
That's correct. So that's part of the ASCII character range.
Mm-hmm.
And it also extends a bit further than the sort of standard ASCII characters. If you wanted to, for example, make a German translation of the game that had amulets and characters like that, you could do that outside of the ASCII range.
Gotcha. That's another question. If I know I never want lowercase, could I remove all those, and would that actually save any memory?
I think it would save a little bit. I think I've got it set up so that if any two characters are the same or any character is missing. Well, in fact, I think if any two characters are the same, that's another way of doing it. So that
nice. And that way I can be sloppy typing in the text for the game and use lowercase, but it's still not wasting the memory on the double graphics. Yeah. Very nice.
Absolutely. And you may change your mind later and say, okay, actually, I don't want everything uppercase. I do want lowercase as well. So,
all right. Well, that's fantastic. Lots of nice options.
Yep. Now, for the top left, where it's got the plus icon next to fonts, that can import a true type font and try to lay it out.
Turns it into a bitmap font. Nice.
Yeah, for that format. In practice, you might find that, because it can't do anti-aliasing or anything like that, like what you get might look quite sloppy, but it's sort of there so you've got, you can make a start, you can
and
do all
clean
the
it
manual
up.
refinements.
Clean it up in a pixel art program after the fact. Yeah, that would still save a ton of time, especially for people who are not expert font makers, like bitmap font makers. So that's great features. Very, very nice. So shall we get into, I'm sure I'll have to edit the map first and add some kind of block. So I should create a block as a placeholder for the signpost.
Should we do the talkpad first?
Sure, I'll set it up. Yeah, absolutely. Is that under panels or?
Yeah, so the talkpad is just like any other panel.
Okay, so I need to...
You will need like an indexed PNG to link to. So I suppose you'd need to do that first. So I guess you could make a copy of the HUD one and then just delete.
For now, could I reference the same HUD image so I don't even have to copy it? But then obviously later on I'll tidy it up and make it point to a different image.
Yeah, absolutely. So that would be a starting point. So if you just go copy panel.
Right. Copy panel.
And I guess just call it a...
All right. So here, there we go. Okay.
So sorry, I meant the list of
no problem.
The other one.
Yep. So just all of these.
Yep.
There we go.
Okay. So you see where it says talkpad there on the right?
Yes. Overlap.
Bottom there.
Scheme talkpad.
Talkpad.
Yep.
And then select font. So just select the current font, and then you've got. That's a box that you can drag.
Right.
So you basically want to cover about the whole thing.
Right.
Now, so you see there's two other things underneath it. So I'll just really briefly go into what those are. So one of them lets you set an image for the fire indicator. So basically, if you imagine it like a visual novel where it spells out the dialogue one letter at a time, and then when it finishes, it shows the image saying "press fire to continue" or something like that.
If there's more text, that then fits on one panel, you would press the fire button, and it would show more text.
It's more for alerting the player that that they can push fire to continue, or they it's waiting just to alert them that it's waiting. The game is waiting for them to
press fire.
Push the button.
Either to exit the panel or to get to the next panel's worth of text?
Yes.
Okay.
And it doesn't differentiate between, whether this is the last bit of dialogue or whether there's more dialogue to come.
Right.
The choice indicator is something that's not used that often. It's a bit of... it's one of these sort of features that's still there, still supported, but nobody really uses it.
Is that for yes, no? Like, do you want to do this or that? Yes, no?
Yeah, so that's... so how it was designed is... So if you've got a talkpad and you have choices set up in the code blocks, and that's another... Yeah, I mean, the choices thing in general is quite powerful, but it's basically never used in Scorpion, but... Yeah, it will let you show or let you select from multiple dialogue choices.
Right.
And you can even apply some logic to those dialogue choices. So, if one of them is like buy helmet, but you don't have enough money to buy the helmet, you could, just not show that dialogue option.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds super useful for more adventure-style games. It just happens that most people using Scorpion right now are making more action-y games. But yeah, I'm certain I'll be using some of those features in the future, if not for this game, for others. So it sounds like great stuff. But so what happens if I click on this fire indicator button?
Yeah, it will just ask you to find an image to set up.
Okay. And then like
so you might want to then you can just drag it where you want it on the panel.
Gotcha. Very nice. All right. And then I assume I'm going to need one, right?
No, you don't need one. It's optional.
Okay.
But you could add it in later if you want.
But without it, the player can still press fire after it's done displaying the text to get back to the game?
Yeah.
Okay, great. And then choice indicator, same thing? Presumably? It's like a setup or... Okay. All right. So I don't think we'll need either of those for now, but I probably will add an image for a fire indicator later on. All right, cool. And then overlaps the game, is that so you can make it somewhere more arbitrary vertically on the screen, or what does that option do?
So what that option was invented for was like originally when we had it so that you pop up some text on top, it would push the entire game display down. So
right.
If your window was 32 pixels high, it would push the player down 32 pixels and everything else down.
The whole screen,
pixels.
Right.
Mm.
And this way it doesn't nudge the screen down. It just literally overlaps the top of the game screen so that the whole game screen doesn't shift down. Very nice.
Yeah.
But we don't need this at all since it's on the bottom anyway.
Well, I was going to say I ran into a problem I couldn't quite fix with if you have a parallax background. It's not a problem if you just have like a static background or a copper sky background. Yep. But if you have a parallax background, then it sort of messes things up using that. So,
right.
In general, I wouldn't recommend using that unless you really need to have a panel that comes down from the top.
Right.
And you don't have any parallax.
Right. Do you think maybe it would work with a parallax background if the top 32 pixels, if the panel were 32, didn't have anything but one single color? Do you think it would not look corrupted or anything?
Well, yeah, possibly. I might need to test that.
Worth testing. Okay. Because, a lot of people could do that if they wanted to. If it worked, they could just have just sky up there with a little gradient or something.
Yeah. I mean, I think the person that asked for it had like a cave background parallax that stretched across the entire screen. Mm-hmm. So, that wasn't going to work for him in that case.
Well, if the cave didn't scroll vertically and only horizontally, you could get away with gradating the back layer up into dark black shadow or a single color, and it would still look pretty nice. You know what I mean? Like it's not a sky; it's just fading into so much darkness you don't see any detail. But that won't necessarily work or look great if the level scrolls vertically too.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember what will happen. I guess it's one of these things where if it is big enough a problem that people really need it fixed, I could have another look at it.
Right.
But at the moment, the behavior is unknown.
Right. Okay. So let's see, and then this lets you choose how many bit planes and therefore how many colors.
Yep.
And so if I wanted to, I could potentially save a little bit of memory by reducing this to 8 or 4 color, and then making sure, obviously, that the font has that few colors. All right, very nice.
Yep. And especially because this is in memory at all times, and because it has that font in memory as well. maybe worth considering reducing the colors on the talkpad if you think you can get away with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think probably I could go down to 4 colors and still have it look really nice. So I will almost certainly do that, or certainly 8 color, but quite probably 4. But that's definitely, that level of optimizing is for another time. I just want to learn how to get this stuff working. So far it all makes sense. And as always, you go above and beyond with the nice additional features, like being able to import a TrueType font and get the ball rolling for you and stuff. Very, very nice. So, all right, it looks like we got this panel set up in general the way we need. We've got got it ready for text. And it's interesting, like there's no element needed for it because we've already told it by clicking that it was a talk pad. That was all we needed. Okay.
You can have elements on talk pads. I think some people have done that. I can't quite remember the reason for that, but I think... Actually, I can think of one reason why you'd want to have elements on a talk pad is profile images.
Exactly. A portrait of the character that's talking would be beautiful. But in the case of this, we don't need that, or I can add that later. But it's great to know, which I'm assuming is also part of the reason that you made this great feature to designate where the text fits, because then you can obviously make sure there's room where the text will never go for the portrait.
Yeah.
And
I mean, a lot of these games have like a fancy border around the edges.
Right.
So that's another reason why you wouldn't necessarily want to cover the whole
edge to edge, exactly. But yeah, for now, this is definitely good to get going. And then, so now, should I make the block, make a block in order to work as a signpost?
Well, I was thinking we just get some text on screen just to make sure we've got it all working.
Okay.
And then we'll create the block if that sounds good to you.
All right. So we'll go to code.
So we'll start with project. Now this is this is something that's going to change. It's it's on the whole list of things I've asked for. Feature requests if people want this done now or later. This has never been a popular choice, so I've never implemented it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace. Like you see, at the moment, you've got the ability to select the talk pad on this at the right side there,
right,
sort of right bottom-ish.
Talk pad on bottom.
Well, above that. But yeah, you where it
select
says
talk
pad.
Okay.
Yep. And you'll notice it only lets you choose that one where you had the font assigned. It won't let you choose one where you haven't got a font assigned.
Right.
And yeah, you'll want to also tick talkpad on bottom so that it's
not on top.
That it opens on the bottom.
Yep.
But yeah, so the problem with setting it up that way is, like, obviously you can't change it at real time.
Right. It's there from the start, covering the HUD.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I want to be able to do at some point is make it so that you can load and unload talkpads like any other panel. It's just something I haven't gotten around to yet.
Okay.
But yeah, in the future, instead of setting talkpad in the project tab, you'll load it in the code block, and then you might want to change to like a completely different talkpad depending on whether you're talking to someone or whether you're reading a signpost, things like that.
Well, one thing that is really nice, speaking of having portraits of the characters that speak, in some of the game projects I've been working on, I have a portrait, like let's say, the player will often be on the left and the person they're talking to on the right. I would switch the portrait, the portrait where it is on the text panel would match where the player is on the screen or the character that's talking. So if the player's on the left, when they're speaking, their portrait is on the left and the text is to the right of that. And then if the person, the character that's on the right, when they talk, their portrait is on the right. It just further backs up who's saying what when. So presumably, I would have to either make two different HUD elements, so there's always or not HUD, but text panel elements. One for the character on the left, one for the right, and keep the text in the middle. Or maybe I could just, once you add that feature, I can make two different talk pads, one with the portrait on the left and one with the portrait on the right. So that way the text can fill up the rest of the space. I don't know if I explained that well enough, but okay.
So that is something that we should be able to do in Scorpion Engine in the future.
Right.
Although that will also need the ability to cache panels. So, like, obviously, both of those panels you would want to keep in memory at all times.
Right.
Or you might say, well, I only want them in memory when characters are about to have a conversation. So, if you have a conversation between, like, a cutscene of characters talking between levels, you might say, well, I'll load those talk pads then, but I won't have them in memory at any other time.
Right. The other option, I don't know if this already exists in Scorpion Engine or if it could be added as an option, but the ability to change the position of the HUD element. So you could literally just move over the portrait block and move over the text block. So it's shifting them, which one's on the left, which one's on the right, but, depending on which character's talking. That would be another way to go about the same thing. But anyway, for now, we don't need any of that fancy stuff. So for now, you just want me to, I assume, like, make a code block to make some text appear. So right now, just to test it, we're making the text block there from the beginning. Okay.
I was actually just thinking we could have it in the startup code block.
Yep.
So, like, right after you load the level, it has just have it say "Hello World" or something. So we just need a new line.
Yeah, I'm gonna disable the song so that the next time I play, I don't have to turn down the audio.
Okay, fair enough.
All right. It's a great song, but we can't hear ourselves talk very well for now. So, all right. Is it under display
dialogue
or dialogue? Okay, sweet. Sorry about the construction noises going on. I don't know if the microphone's picking that up. We've got hammering and sawing going on downstairs.
Okay. No, I can't hear it at most.
Oh, good. All right, excellent.
But yeah, so just where it says text, where it's got 0 at the moment, you can just write anything you want.
All right.
Oh, and if you see just above it, it's got a note of some special tags.
Yep.
So the first one, that's just like HTML. That's just line break, so that you can have text on you can have text on multiple lines split, before the wraparound.
Right.
So like that, you could have. So whatever you write now will be on the second line.
Of course, that's assuming that first bit of text would fit on the first line. But there would definitely be a line break after this and before that.
Yes. So if that first line wrap was on 2 lines, then that BR would put the second line on the third line. So,
exactly.
Yep. So other than that, we've got the 1 and the 5 in square brackets. So that is for adding pauses when it's printing the text. So you might use that for, dramatic effect. So someone's saying something and then they pause and then it prints out the rest of the dialogue.
Right. Is there a way to edit the speed at which it types out?
Yes. So that's a different command in the dialogue.
Okay. So
category.
I would just do this and then dialogue.
I think it's like speak delay.
Speak delay. And is its default 1, which is 1 letter per frame, or?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not totally sure. But yeah, you could use that to have for example, you could have some characters that are talking very fast.
Right.
You could have some characters that are talking very slow, and then that speak delay just sort of reflects that.
Or just in general to match the mood of your entire game. You could set it once and never change it.
Yeah.
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 All right, but we'll see what the default is like. There's no point messing with code to change it when I haven't even seen how fast or slow it is yet. So is this it for now? Should I try running the project to see what this looks like? Of course, it's going to look ugly with the HUD graphic behind it, but ignore that, everyone. I'll be replacing it with the nice, clean, simple text block background. Nice. All right. It's on screen. It's nice and clean. My controller's not working, but I think... Oh, there we go. Oh, that's right. It was waiting for me to press fire. But, yeah, I really want to add the press fire graphic. But we'll do that another time since I don't have any graphic made for that yet.
Yep.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah. Oh, now the other thing is, if you wanted to display some text on a panel but not have it interrupt the game, you can use the I think there's a different command. So the one you used was speak. I think there was one called print, and that just prints the text. It doesn't have any delays. It just straight prints the text.
Right.
And you might want to use that for some old 8-bit games have this feature where it's when you enter a new room, it says the name of the room.
Right.
That's the sort of thing that you can use it for. Or you could use it for like the character's name.
Right. Or like there are high-speed action games where someone might be telling you clues, but it's up to you if you want to like stop what you're doing or at least look down and read it versus not. You know what I mean? So it's certainly nice to have that option. It's really nice. Like I think I'll stick to the I want the people to read it and understand what their options are. So I'll stick to the one that actually pauses the action. But it is really cool to have that option. And of course, because you gave us that option, we could use custom code to kind of make it so that you're walled off from block the scrolling manually, so the character can still move, but you can't proceed until you do whatever thing you like. In my case, I have switches that you're learning how to use, so we can make a custom code block that locks the scrolling until you trigger the switch, and the text would say basically, you can use your boomerang to trigger the switch. So really nice options there.
The other thing I wanted to raise is I think there was a visual glitch display for like a couple of frames where it was like you dismissed the text and then it sort of blinked while it was refreshing the screen.
Right.
And I think the reason for that is you've got the 2x copper turned off.
Oh, okay.
What the 2x copper is, it basically double buffers the copper so that when you change from one display to another, when you turn on a panel or turn off a panel, it cleanly swaps over.
Right.
Whereas with it turned off, it will try to redraw everything, the background and everything when you're doing things like entering dialogue mode.
Gotcha.
It might be something I can improve on. Like I do want to have a go at making it so that even with double copper turned off, it's not as flaky for switching on and off the talk pad.
Right.
But that's something I'll need to come back to.
Right. Okay. Well, great. It's I'm a sicko. I like making optimization passes anyway, so I don't mind turning it on for now and seeing if I can keep the game running in on a 1 meg OCS Amiga. But for now, I just want to get these features functioning and then go back and see where we stand memory-wise and do whatever optimization is required. We now see that it is all working. So now I assume the next step is to make something as a placeholder signpost and make the code to actually trigger the talkpad is what you call it for the Scorpion engine?
Yes.
Trigger the talkpad at a specific moment when we want it to appear instead of by default. So I need to go into project and turn off talkpad on. I guess turn off talkpad on bottom so that it doesn't put it there to begin with.
Oh, sorry, no.
No?
Sorry, leave that on. Talkpad on bottom just means it's on the bottom of the screen.
Oh, okay.
Otherwise, it'll appear on the top of the screen.
Right. Okay.
But just if you remove it from startup, then it won't show until
right.
you actually.
Oh, okay. So whenever
call it.
whenever you use a dialogue event, it'll bring up the automatically the talkpad.
Yes.
Okay, very cool.
Yep.
That makes perfect sense. So I'm going to copy this and cut it out, and then we can make a new code block. But first, we need an actual block to be a placeholder sign. And obviously, we could use a bob or a sprite as well, but I want to stay optimized, and I'll use a block. So I'll just create a block. Blocks. So for now, it'll be a little funky. If I pick a bigger image, I can pick one of the things, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, because blocks are hard coded to 16 by 16. You can just.
All right. So this is where it will be. Sign. All right, and yep, we'll just use that weird scribble there. And so now we just need unplayer overlap because we want it so that you have to press up.
Yeah.
All right, and then we don't have that code yet, so we will make a code block first. All right, so new code block. They're sawing now downstairs. Hopefully my mic's not picking it up too hard. Yeah, it's been going since we started the stream, but I think it's quiet enough that it won't be a giant nuisance to viewers.
I haven't heard it myself.
Nice. Okay. So Discord is really good at noise cancellation, though, so it might get picked up a little bit on the video, but luckily you don't hear it. But anyway, so this code block will be called sign trigger. All right. So now we find it, and we need to check if the player is pressing up. So or like taps up. So how would we do that? It would be controls?
Yep.
Conditional.
Oh,
right?
sorry, no, the condition. Yep.
Conditional.
Condition.
Okay.
And just the standard condition.
Yep.
So you're on the right one already. Okay. And just from your first expression will just be control1_y, I think.
Control.
Yep.
1_y.
Yep.
All right. And then what would it be? To only work if like the player just tapped up.
Yeah, it would have to. So it would have to be equals.
Okay.
And then -1.
Okay, that would have been my guess, but very good. Okay.
Now that's going to be if you're holding up, as opposed to you've just tapped it. If we want to make it so that it's just if it taps it, then we'll have to add some additional logic for checking was the joystick in a neutral position on the previous frame and now it's on the up frame. I don't know if it will actually need to do that because we're going to have the speak command interrupt the gameplay anyway. Right. And so, unless you were holding up while you were running to the right.
I was just going to say another thing to check is the player standing on the ground? Because, like, I don't want them to be able to trigger the sign when they're still jumping or falling in the air. And in this game, you do hold up and then press attack to throw a button. So I would want it eventually. I'd want to improve the code so that they have to have just tapped up, but we don't have to do that right now. And because they might come sort of running past the signpost while holding up because they want to throw a weapon. And I don't want them to accidentally trigger the signpost, basically.
Well, I guess that's the other thing is we can check the control1x, make sure that
it's 0.
The left and right position is, and it is 0 or is in a neutral position. Yeah, so control-y, control-x, and, as on platform, those three together should be pretty solid.
Yep. All right, and this should be equals 0?
Yes.
All right, and of course we need some end, conditional ends. Conditional End condition, and I just need to copy that. There we go. So that's the most basic implementation of triggering, like with a signpost. And all right, cool. So now I need to actually place one of those blocks we made into the map.
Yep.
Okay, so map, and then pick the map, and then edit map. Go back to the beginning of the level, and we'll just put it right here. Even though it doesn't make sense there, it'll be the fastest to test. And then I need blocks, and there it is. Just put that right there. And of course, I can embellish the signpost with other tiles that don't necessarily have to have any logic or collision. You know what I mean? So they have to be pretty well lined up. But for now, just using the one block is perfectly fine.
I mean, you could draw the sign as part of the background tiles and then just use an invisible block as the logical trigger for it.
Oh yeah, I never actually plugged it back into the block. All right, so let's see. So on player overlap repeating, that should be sign. What was it? Sign trigger. There we go. There we go, and up. All right, well that worked. Very cool.
Yep.
All right, and I can re-trigger. Very nice. This is a test of the text panel. One thing I noticed, it doesn't show the second line at all because there's no room for it. So how would I make it, you know, like how it's supposed to say line 2 or whatever? I need to separate that into separate say commands?
That would be the way to do it, is you have a second say command. I haven't got anything built in that detects whether something's too long and then needs to be put on to another.
Right. So would it just literally be something like this? And I would, here I would say, of course it's not going to be a second line. Oops, I added, okay, I can just change the order. And then here it would be like this. So it's going to automatically, because it's two separate things, it's going to do this and wait for the fire button and then do this. All right, let's see how that works. Go. This is a test. Press the button. Yep. Very, very nice. Very, very nice.
Could I get you to try one more thing? If turn on the 2 times copper, that should, in theory, fix the bug where it.
Okay.
Down a little bit.
Right there. Yep.
That should, in theory, fix the bug where it flashes between copperless generations. That might be a bug that I'll be able to fix because, like in this instance, because the 2 panels are the same size, it shouldn't need to regenerate the background copperless. So I might be able to just have some intelligence to, say, well, if I don't need to regenerate the background, don't regenerate the background.
Right. Yeah, no glitch at all. It was rock solid. Very nice.
Yep.
All right, that works. And so now I know I'll have to add more logic when there are different signposts that say different things. So that's the next logical step. Yeah, like I don't want to end up having to make a million different blocks with the same graphics for like the whole game for all the signposts. So
yeah, so you can just check the block Y variable as part of the condition.
Right, fantastic. All right, so let me go back to the map. Oh yeah, I still have it open, so I should just be able to place another one and then save. And let's keep track of, and the block position is based on tile, so I can look right here in the map editor. All right, so let me do that. All right, I'll put this one right here. And so that is 29 is the X. All right. File save and go back to the code. So we're going to need another if, I guess, right here. So we're going to be checking the conditional. This would be block X.
The block Y. Sorry.
You mean X.
You're right. Block
X.
Yep.
Oh, I need to check the position of the first one. The first one is 11. Yep. All right, equals 11. All right, so I'm just going to copy all this. So let's see if block X. What was it? I think 29 was the one that was farther over. Double check. Yep, 29. All right, if it's 29, oh, that doesn't belong there. That belongs here.
Yep.
And then this is the second sign text. All right, and then it looks like we need one more of these. It looks like this is not correct. I should have another end condition here or something.
Here's what I'll do. I'll delete that end condition. You can change to...
oh, right.
So delete that line.
So this is else if?
And then, yes, you can change that to an else if.
Okay. And it could be else if there's only 2 signs, but since I am going to add more signs, it needs to be else if.
Yeah.
Okay, let's test this. First sign, this is a test. Yep, it starts saying the second one, so that works great. And here's the next sign. This is the second sign's text. Beautiful. All right, so let's see how much we can get done toward the checkpoint stuff. So, yep.
Well, should we do a code block to start with, and we'll call it something like activate checkpoint?
Sure. All right. So code blocks, added code block, activate checkpoint. All right. Go up there, activate checkpoint. Okay.
Yep. Now we're going to want a couple of variables here.
Okay. Variables, you click plus for variables and constants. Okay.
You might want to move these variables to a different code block later, but for now it probably makes sense to have them all here.
Right.
So we just want a checkpoint X and a checkpoint Y.
All right. Call it check X. Okay, and then another one, I just click plus here. Check Y. That work?
Yep.
Okay.
And then all we really want to do in this code block for now is if you add a command for a set variable, so on the base type like you've got, but the type will be set variable.
Gotcha. Set variable.
And then you just want to set check X to equal block underscore X.
All right. Oh, those things, those checkpoints are a bob. So should we just go with the blitter object?
So not. Okay, so you're not going to use a block for the checkpoints. You're going to use an actor for the checkpoints.
Right, because it's got the fancy semi-transparent stained glass thing going on.
You could still have like an invisible block that you just put, about the same place.
Yeah, that's up to you. But it seems like if we've got the bob anyway, is there any benefit to having a bob and an invisible block instead of just the bob for the collision check?
I suppose not. Or we can. Well, in that case, instead of setting check X to 0, we'd want to set it to actor X and actor Y.
Okay.
Or actor underscore X.
Like that? Actor underscore X. Okay. And then we're going to set check Y. Also known as checky. We've got check X and checky. All right, let's see.
And the actor underscore Y. Then all you need to do is the next step will be to go to your actor for the checkpoint and then link it to that code block.
All right, so actors. All right, so we need to find that thing. What the hell did I call it? Stained glass thingamabobber. I really don't remember. Let me know if you see anything that could be what that is. A translucent glass. There we go. Okay. So and can make that bigger. Might as well.
Yep.
Okay. And then
just on collide with player.
What did we
activate
call this?
checkpoint. Yep, just that first one.
Yep. Okay.
And yeah, that's really about it for activating the for at least detecting that we've got players collided with it. I suppose
Right.
you might want to do something eventually, like change the animation to show that it's
Yeah.
it's a red light or something.
In fact, just for the hell of it, I want to go into the
Yep.
code right now. I'm just going to spawn an explosion there, just so it's super
Okay. Yep.
obvious it works. So that's under actor, right? Spawn another, spawn an actor, and we're going to spawn an explosion. All right, there we go.
Well, having said that, this is going to run every frame.
Oh,
so
okay.
we may want to do a check to make sure this isn't already the active checkpoint.
Right.
So that'll be easy enough. You just need to check that the check X and the check Y is different to the actor X and actor Y.
All right, but that makes it sound like if I move over 1 pixel to the left or up or down, then it'll trigger again.
Yeah, so you just want to put a condition over the whole thing.
Yeah, it sounds like maybe we could just use the variable. You know how there's variables in actors? So maybe we could use one of these variables, like has it been triggered? So it will.
Oh, that also works. So you could use an active R1.
All right, so we'll just set that to 1. So what we're going to do, I think, is we'll do a conditional if at the beginning and say if the actor's variable 1 is 0. All right, conditional actor var1 is equal to 0. Then do this, and then that's it. We just need the end end conditional. Oops. Damn it, I didn't want to do that. Okay. Conditional and there. Oh, we need to set it. We need to set the variable to 1. Okay. So now we just need to base. It is base, right? And then set variable. And then actor. Is it actor underscore?
Oh, just set it to 1. Oh, that's the expression there. So you want to set that one to 1.
Oh, right, 1. And up here.
Or true.
Yeah.
Yep.
Actor variable 1.
Yep.
Very nice. So it'll make an explosion. It'll set these variables. Okay. So then we just need something that if the player dies, we need to teleport the player, basically respawn the player there.
Yeah, so you must have a code block for when the player dies.
That's a good question. Yeah, right now it restarts the whole shebang. So I'm not good at using the search options you added. Is there something? Is there?
Yeah, there isn't really. There isn't a filter for
words inside of code blocks.
Yeah. I think that's one of these things that I've added to the feature poll and nobody's voted for it yet. So I haven't.
What are we crazy? We should have voted for that. I need it right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing it'll be called something like player death, or
yeah, it might be under player gets hurt or something like that. So let's see if we could find it. I really need to improve my naming conventions. The bigger your game gets, the more important that kind of stuff is. Let's see.
Yeah, you got to play a die right there.
There we go. Yeah, so could I have searched for the word die in the names of code blocks? That would certainly be handy. No, not yet.
Yeah, that was so one person asked that, so I added it to the feature poll, but it hasn't received sort of enough votes above all the other things that people vote for. But anyway, so that one looks like right at the bottom it does restart level. So restart level is probably the correct place to do it.
To replace it. Okay.
Yep.
Oh, that's interesting. Oh, it's go to restart level. It's not a code that says restart level. So we need to find restart level. Restart level. There we go. So we need to replace
Okay, so
that.
that's I mean, all we really need to do is have add on to that. So we could do a simple check just to see if the checkpoint X or the checkpoint Y has been set. So if you just go, if check X is different to 0,
Right. All right. So
then
let's get conditional. Check X. Oops. Check. Yeah, there will never be a checkpoint up at 0. So check Y is not 0 is very safe. So check Y is not 0. All right. And then what?
Yep. And then you just want a command that just sets the player X and Y.
All right.
You want to do that after you've loaded the level.
Yeah, exactly.
Otherwise,
exactly. All right. So is that under player? I assume.
Oh, but you still want the level to restart because you could die before you reach a checkpoint.
Well, I still have load level. That restarts the level.
Yeah, but that should be before the condition. Because you want it to run whether the condition's true
I get
anyway. And then the player, instead of set type, just want set position.
Right. Set position, and then its X is going to be check X.
Check X.
And Y is going to be checky.
Yep.
Oops, missed my K in checky.
Yep.
All right.
Then you just need a end condition there.
Yep. Okay, so conditional end condition. All right.
Now, just one thing to keep in mind is depending on the relative X and Y positions of the spawn point and the player, you might find that the player spawns in the ground or the player spawns in midair.
Right.
If something like that happens, what we can just do is where you've got move player 2, check X and check Y, we can just add or subtract from that.
Well, would it be easy right now to add another if to this that checks if the player is standing on the ground?
No, because that doesn't capture the player's position. That captures the position of the checkpoint object.
Ah, right, actor, because it says actor. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
And that's probably the correct one to use because you'd want it so that it spawns in the middle of the thing rather than left or the right. But depending, if you give it a test and then we find that actually it doesn't, where it spawns the player doesn't really work, then we can just adjust the value up or down.
Well, I'm assuming one thing we need to do when we reload the level is, so let's go back to that. What was it called again? Restart level or reload level?
So it's further up because those italic ones.
Right. Okay. Restart level.
Yeah, that's the one.
So here we're going to need to, in both places, I wanted it so that when you touch the thing in the first place and it makes the explosion, which will be replaced by a different effect, it'll give you full health and full weapon energy. But also when you respawn, we don't want to restart the level and you have 0 hit points so you immediately die again. So no matter what, after you load the level, do we need to add set hit points? Set variable? Does that make sense? Or do they automatically reset when you load the level? I'm assuming they do not.
No, because variables are independent from levels.
Okay. So hit points to 4. I don't remember what the default is. Is it in player code? Hit points for Energy starts at 0, but we want it to be full, but I don't know what the maximum is for that. Oh, I think that's blue energy, actually, 25. Okay, so we'll set that to 25. So back to restart level. How's the alphabet work again? Restart level. There we go, copy that, and we're going to set blue energy to 25. Yep, go ahead.
One thing you can do in Scorpion is use constants. So, I mean, a constant is like a variable, except you can only read it. You can't change it, and so that's useful for things like, well, you might decide that the game you start with 3 lives, so you have a constant called something like default lives equals 3, and then everywhere where you restart the game, you set my lives equal default lives.
That way, if you change your mind designing the game, you only change that constant instead of hunting down every line of code that sets your lives to 3 or your hit points to 4. Yeah, that's super useful.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, but for now, I'm not going to worry about it. I'll just get this working and let you go. I don't want this video to be too long and don't want to eat up all of your time. But I think so. I just need to find that activate code again, and I'm going to paste the same thing in there. But I'll definitely make constants later and clean that up in case I do change my mind at some point with the starting hit points and blue energy. So right there. There we go. I think that is everything. Shall I test it? So the one thing I was wondering is it really necessary to reload the level? Can't we just kind of teleport the player to a certain new XY coordinate after the death animation plays to avoid loading time? Like the reloading time for every time you die?
Yeah, so that's one thing you could do instead of restart level, you could, just spawn a new player at the checkpoint.
Yeah.
And reset those things. So that's up to you.
Yeah.
Oh.
Interesting.
Okay, because you had a checkpoint at the start anyway, or?
I did, but he hadn't touched it yet. So it definitely caused some kind of issue.
Okay.
Let's see. Let me rerun it again and make sure I touch the first spawning point, checkpoint, I mean, and then see if that fixes the problem. If that doesn't work out.
The other thing is there's the cache map tick box, which just adds a little bit more. It adds a little bit more memory over here, but it means that if you reload the same level, it doesn't touch the disk. It just does it all from memory.
Right. No, it's still not updating or not displaying the. Oh, and it's locked. Am I reloading the wrong level somehow? Let's see where that code is again. Let's look back at restart level. Code. Oops, went down too far. Restart level. Load level.
So,
what?
So that is the name of the level that you use?
No, it's Big Map.
Oh, Big Map. Oh, okay.
That's why.
I don't know what happened there.
That makes perfect sense.
Yep.
Project.
All right.
That was really interesting how it kept those blitter objects. You know what I mean? Even though it was loading a non-existent level. All right, let's try this again. But yeah, that'll be the next last nice optimization I could probably pull off on my own is make it so instead of reloading the level, we're just respawning the player at the check X and check E. All right. While I'm killing myself here, the other thing I'm hoping to get done by Amiga 37 is to come up with a title. Oh no, it's still doing that. Weird.
Oh, no, I can't explain that.
Alright. Alright, let's see. Code. Load level. Big map. Do you want to see if it changes anything at all if I turn on cache map?
I don't think it's
Just
going to
for
make
that
any
one.
changes.
Or it should reduce the loading time, right? Anyway, between
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Let's see if it makes any difference beyond the loading time. Like maybe there's some kind of bug in Scorpion, but if the map is cached, then it then it'll work or something.
Is it actually the player die code block that's being set?
Oh look, it worked with
okay.
cache on. The scrolling is broken still, but otherwise.
Okay. Well, have you got something in the kill player code block that turns off the scrolling?
Great question. Code block. What was it called? Player die, I think. Player die. There's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, so you got stop following player.
Okay. Yep. And then so we just need to add in the respawn, restart level.
Yep.
We need to. I'm assuming I can just camera file left, up, down. Interpolate is like smooth tweening or something for the camera movement. I'm assuming, is that on by default normally?
Not normally.
Okay. All right, we'll leave that off for now. All right. I think we'll test it one more time. So it looks like there's a bug with reloading the level for some reason. I'll let you hunt that down whenever you feel like it. So
I mean, I'll need a project that I can replicate it on.
I'll update. I'll update this. I'll what do you call it? Commit it to the GitHub. All right.
I mean, it seemed to almost be okay, except it looked like the ground was missing or something before.
The entire foreground map was missing. Only the bobs were there. I can turn cache back off so you could see. You want to see what it looked like again? Like the background sprites were there, the back parallax sprites, and the player bob and the actual checkpoint bob. Those were all there, and to my recollection, nothing else was. So let's turn cache maps back off and see what happens. I'm assuming it's not a memory thing since I have it set to A1200 and 8 megs of fast RAM for fast testing. Or maybe it just had to do with the follow the camera. Nope. See, yeah, the block is there, the sprites are there, and this bob is there, and the player bob. So it's just it's not displaying, but it's there. The data is there. The data is there for collisions and the size of the map and everything. The spikes.
So something has deleted the tile set. That's really weird. Can't explain that.
Well, the functionality is all there, and for now I can keep going with the development just by turning on cache maps, so it doesn't slow me down at all. So, all right, awesome. Well, I will commit this. Thanks so much. We made some great progress. I'll make all the actual pretty art for this and put the signs in the right places and have them say the right things. So, I am back to full production mode for this. Thanks to you. Thank you very much.
No worries, though.
And thanks very much for watching, everyone.
If you enjoy our content and want to keep up to date on our games, please leave a like and subscribe. Also, if you want to support our projects, consider becoming a patron. The link's in the description, and we'll see you soon.